How did you get into shipbuilding?
Well, that's kind of, when I got out of the Army, I, went back to Cordova. Nothing going there. Trying to muddle through and manage to live in Cordova was a challenge in the wintertime. And my folks had left there. They had a store, and they sold it and then moved south. And I had heard that the way to get into the fisheries and whatever else, that's the fishing community, that's normal for young people, was to contact the headquarters in Seattle. And because my folks had moved to Marysville, I took a trip down that fall, and in the return, I went into Seattle, and I went down First Avenue, and there was the name Coleman Building was on my mind because that had been given to me as a place where a lot of headquarters were for the fisheries. I went in there, and the first office I came to was Guy Halfordy, and they were located in Cordova. So I went in there, and here was Guy Halfordy. Guy was the son of the original founder of Halfordy Company, but he was a very engaging person, very pleasant to talk to and whatever else. And he told me when he got back to Cordova, all I had to do was come down to see him, and he'd outfit me. Well, I felt pretty good about that, and I went back up to Cordova. And a few months later, I heard the guy was back in town. So I trotted down to this cannery there, the processor, and went in to see Guy, and he kind of, acted like he didn't really know me, and pleasant just the same. But then I asked him about his promise to give me a skiff or set up he kind of gritted his teeth and thought about it for a little bit, and he told me, go out and see Carl Diverseth. He was the dock foreman there, and that was one of the only guys that was at the cannery at that moment, because they hadn't started up or anything. But Carl was around there getting things organized in his mind. And so I went and looked for Carl, and I found him. And I says, Guy said that you'd give me a skiff or whatever. And he shook his head, and he didn't say anything, and he was thinking, and then he said, follow me. So we trotted off down amongst the buildings there, and we came to the carpenter shop. And in there was a stack of lumber, all the normal paraphernalia of a carpenter shop. And he pointed to that stack, and he says, your skiff's in there, start building. And that's how I got into the game, I guess, because that was the start of it. And because, I was working along the boats, one job came after another, and then I got a job rebuilding a cannery tender with Joe Bernard. And I stayed over on Hawkins Island there, Joe had a boathouse over there and a little 2-room cabin. And I stayed there the rest of the winter and working on rebuilding that tender. And Joe was a fine person, except that he was probably the world's worst cook. And of course I lived with Joe, and I'm the second world's worst cook. That's what happens. But that was just the start of me being a shipwright. And I enjoyed the work. I really liked it, and it was sad when it came to an end, and I figured it's time to leave. And
what did you like most about the job?
The variety that I liked. You get wrecks of all sorts, and each boat that comes is different, and there's all sorts of different problems, and you had solved a problem, and that was just, to keep doing this. And I got so I was reasonably capable in doing anything in the yards, and that shipyard was Northern. That's it there. That was sitting right here, between here and halfway between here and that building there.
Yeah.
And so my Ketchikan, has been in this area for 70 years now.
Yeah.
That thing was torn down in about 1970.
Okay.
The wind damaged it, and absentee owners of a declining industry determined that they didn't want to put the investment into fixing it. It's too bad they didn't, but that was their decision.